Hello everyone and welcome to ersg's brand new podcast where we are powering future conversations. This International Women's Day, we've sat down with some of our very own inspiring female leaders to ask them about their experience with leadership in the industry and how they've got where they are today. So, to kick us off, Kaylin, do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Kaylin, I'm Marketing Manager at ersg.
And I'm Kerry, and I'm the Content Specialist here at ersg. So, happy International Women's Day, everyone. Thanks for being here. Do you guys all want to introduce yourselves? Because I know there's quite a few of you.
Yeah, hi everybody, I'm Victoria Payne and I am the Workforce Solutions Director here at ersg.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen O'Sullivan, I'm Head of Payroll Operations for UK and APAC.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Jones-Hughes, I'm the Business Manager on the WTG team for pre-assembly, installation and commissioning.
Hello everyone, my name is Victoria Flynn and I am a Senior Accounts Manager for Global Siemens Accounts.
I'm Emma, Legal Manager at ersg.
And I am Georgia Edmonds and I am the Global Talent Manager across all of our 8 offices.
Thanks so much, everyone. So, to kick us off, does anyone want to start just talking about their journey into the industry and how they got where they are today?
Okay, I'll go. That's fine, I'll go. So I guess my journey is probably quite unique. I did something completely different. I was in media for over 20 years as a commercial director. COVID and the pandemic hit and I didn't know what to really do because I was suddenly found myself unemployed and looking for a new challenge and opportunity, and found myself at ersg. And for me, it was quite a challenge. Obviously I didn't really know the industry at all, so it was quite a steep learning curve, but also to come in at sort of quite a junior level and obviously establish myself in the industry from the very beginning. But I obviously received a lot of support and put a lot of hard work into it, and then over a period of time I sort of got promoted and then got to the level where I am now. So it's quite it wasn't an easy journey, but definitely a worthwhile one for me.
Yeah, I'll go next. I started my career, I didn't go to university, I went straight from A-levels to work. And one of my first jobs was in marketing, and then I got into recruitment. Wow. God, don't want to give my age away. But I'd probably say closer to almost 30 years actually. I started out as a coordinator, and then moved up to researcher. I joined another company as head of research. Then I led the account management function and then RPO. And then actually I made the decision to leave my organisation after 20 years and join ersg. So I've been here over three and a bit years, and I'm the Workforce Solutions Director. So my journey has been very long. It has had quite a few challenges. I've had children since I've been working, and felt that I've had to overcompensate because I've been a working mother, and also because I've had to work part-time to kind of juggle both, really. That went on a little bit too long.
You honestly started answering the next question, which we'll
Sorry.
because I know that's a great thing. Well, does anybody else have a journey into the industry they'd like to
Share.
So mine, I kind of did the other way with the kid thing and had a kid whilst I was at university, which wasn't necessarily the plan, but meant that kind of had to change the route I guess I went down with work, because from day one I was having to juggle childcare and working. Actually went into teaching as I thought it would fit quite well with having a child, and just realised it wasn't the thing for me. And as the cliche is, fell into recruitment at ersg a bit over 7 years ago now, and just sort of worked my way up from delivery consultant to account manager, to then heading up the internal recruitment function. And yeah, I wouldn't change a thing.
Beautiful.
My probably challenge was, obviously I'm foreign, I'm from Lithuania originally, so that was double trouble. Yeah, obviously obstacle of being in foreign country and finding work in UK. So yeah, I moved to UK in 2010 when I finished university straight in Lithuania. Had the opportunity to go straight into recruitment actually, because my friend used to work for a recruitment agency, and they had an open position for like a coordinator. So obviously my journey started down there, and it was quite challenging, obviously not just because of new industry and new stuff, but also being in a new country as well.
Definitely, yeah, that's fair. Was you fluent when you came to the UK?
Well, my English was really good because I've started learning English since I was 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my mum pushed me to tutors since I was like a tiny little baby, pretty much. So yeah, but it's not learning it and actually using it is 2 different things.
Yeah.
You know, it was really scary actually. You know, talking and conversation in English didn't start straight away. Yeah, it took a long while for my actually flatmate sitting down with me, having a little glass of wine, and just dragging and pulling everything what you wanted to know about me, like that. So yeah, but yeah, it was a journey.
Okay. Mine started off not in recruitment at all. It was very legal focused. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to work in the Magic Circle firm and earn £3,000 million a week, which obviously is a bit of a pipe dream, and it doesn't always work out like that. So I did the traditional route. I did law with criminology. I then went and worked in a law firm up north because I'm from up north in Lancashire, and I decided that I wanted to try something different. So I went and worked in pubs and restaurants and started sort of doing business management, that side of things, and also getting my hands dirty in the kitchen, which I loved when it was really busy, chucking out all the food. It was great, stressful but good. And then I went out of that again and I became a recruiter, believe it or not, for a year.
Yeah. You're all learning so much. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so I did legal recruitment at a firm up north called Service Care Solutions, which started out more in like healthcare and probation services, but they branched out into law, and it was a brand new desk, and it was awful. It was so not for me because the amount of people that put the phone down on you and things, it really demotivated me, and I was like, no, I can't do this. So I went back into the pub industry and I thought, I don't want to do law either. It's a bit boring and it's not for me. So I just sort of, stayed in the pub industry really for the next 5 years, and I thought, I can't do this. I'm going to go back and do my law stuff. So I went and did my legal practice course. Again, went into sort of medical negligence law up in a law firm up in Blackburn up north. And I got headhunted one day by a recruiter who said, have you ever heard of the Recruitment and Employment Confederation? I was like, no, not a clue. And that's how I ended up down here at the Recruitment and Employment Confederation on their legal team, giving advice into the recruitment industry. And then, I think at one point Georgia might have messaged me, which I don't think I responded to for a while, but then I found myself in a situation where I wanted to move, and I thought I'll contact her and see if there's still a job there, and that's how I ended up here. And that was 3 years ago, almost. Yeah.
Great, thanks everybody. The next question we're going to ask is kind of for the people that have been in the workforce for a long time or been in leadership for a long time. Have you seen the industry change for women at all in that time?
I mean, from my perspective, because obviously I'm speaking to people all day, every day in every industry kind of under the sun, trying to bring them into recruitment. I think specifically recruitment itself, I mean, even when I first started, there was a handful of women in the office. Most of the people I was dealing with were men, just kind of the nature of the sales type environment. So massive changes, particularly even within ersg itself, but also, you know, when you're on LinkedIn and see all the other people working in recruitment. There's so many more women now doing it, which is great. Still a lot more to be done. I think a lot of the women are more, potentially in the more operations side of recruitment a lot of the time rather than sales, but it still is changing a lot, and obviously has continued to change a lot in ersg, but always further to go, isn't there?
Yeah. See, one of my first recruitment jobs, actually, my boss was a female, and she was like the top billing sales consultant. She was amazing, one of the best saleswomen I've ever worked with. But she was tough, real tough. She wouldn't take any rubbish from anyone, and she was a real sort of iconic leader. And then when I joined my last company, I actually had a female boss there as well. So, but the majority, I agree with you, Georgia. I think certainly in the first, my younger years in recruitment, I was probably in the very, very minority. And it did feel quite intimidating. I remember being in my 20s and walking onto the sales floor, and you know, back then it was a lot more banter, you know, less PC than it is now, and you know, you just sort of be like, oh my God, what am I walking into? But it is a different world now. But I do still think, I know that every company's talking about being more inclusive, not just around gender, but actually I still feel that we've got a problem at the top. I think companies are good at talking a good game, but actually I still feel that we're really behind the curve. I really believe that.
Yeah, so 100%. I think sometimes it's like ticking boxes.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
women have you got? Oh, we've got enough.
Yeah.
That would do. But it's getting them
Where
into
are
the decision-making positions is where they need to be, and that's generally where.
Yeah,
But
probably not.
sometimes I feel like that, you know, you know, people like what they know and they feel comfortable in that environment, and by mixing it up, by bringing a woman in, or you know, someone
the
that's not
dynamics.
like them, I feel that there's potentially, they don't necessarily want that. So that's what I see from my experience.
And it's transferable skill sets though, particularly, you know, sort of project management for you know, installation and projects both on and offshore, that it's always men, and they seem to be sort of either because of their experience or because they've developed into that role. But actually I've seen one or two sort of female project managers now, maybe last year, and none at all in previous years. But it is this transferable skill set from an operations, you know, managing the teams, but actually having a full understanding of the scope of work and being able to transfer that into project management. And it would be really good to see companies actually embracing that and developing that side of it.
It's still about dogma, especially in construction, that, you know, being a female, you don't understand the construction.
Yeah.
And it's like, to be honest, men just laugh at female.
Yeah,
Like, as soon as they're in a higher position than them, that's it. They just mock that.
Yeah.
I think at schools though, I mean, obviously having two daughters at school, I feel that, you know, I think there still needs to be more around careers that wouldn't necessarily always appeal to women, but I think it's definitely improved. Again, I think it's that education piece and learning it, maybe doing some more work experience around those types of jobs to get more females into
So apprenticeships as well, apprenticeship schemes as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to think things had changed. I mean, when I was at school, at an all-girls school, there was definitely nothing promoting construction, offshore, sales,
100%.
any of these industries. It just wasn't discussed, because it's like, oh, girls aren't going to want to do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's changed now, so you've got younger
But then
kids.
the other
so-
side of that is when they get on site. So a project I have in Taiwan, say there's 36 contractors, only one is female. So then which is great and good for her, but then it's being that individual that is able to tolerate being on a team with
all men.
you know, senior management are all male, every other member of the team is male, and then allowances are, you know, they're SOV based, so they sleep on a vessel, and then, you know, you have to have a specific room just for the female.
Very true,
you know,
yeah.
so then these, you know, sort of measures aren't put in place in advance, because it's almost so unexpected. And how are they received on site? And then you have to be a certain character to be able to take the banter, although that shouldn't really be how it is.
Yeah.
It is how it is.
Just on that facility subject, I do remember about 5-6 years ago, like in construction, especially like refurbishment construction, because I used to work in an agency who was specialising in that. We would have female painters, decorators, electricians, plumbers even, but construction sites would not have any like welfare facilities, changing room for female, and therefore they would not be welcome on that side.
Yes, it's not even like they
It's
wouldn't
not-
hire them, they
it-
didn't
yeah,
even have
yeah.
the option
Like
to
they
hire
had
really.
better experience than men, but because of that, they were not allowed on site.
Yeah, wow.
Crazy. Really bad.
Not so long ago at my previous company, it was a construction recruitment firm, and I spoke to a hiring manager at one point. I wasn't doing recruitment, I was in the legal team, and I had to speak to him because his instruction to one of the recruiters was, if it's a woman, make sure she's not pregnant.
Oh my God.
That is quite
once-
common. That is quite
I
common.
don't even want to
And
laugh though.
if it's
but
a
that's-
woman, make
wow.
sure she has big tits.
I had
Wow.
exactly that. So I had one client, and I won't name it, once said to me, yes, I'd like a project manager, but she has to have blonde hair, blue eyes and big boobs.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. So I was going to say, so off the back of that, how, if you have had a female manager or like a female leader in your team, like how beneficial has that been to your personal career growth, if at all? Because I know it can be quite different when you have men and women. So.
I actually worked for a recruitment company a couple of years ago, and it was run by 2 women, and the majority actually of the sales was women. So actually it was quite unique.
Interesting.
Yeah, in that. I think that was also where I noticed a bit of a shift, I guess, in recruitment, because it was quite unheard of to have women sales, and then suddenly I walk into this office, sort of running the payroll, and it was all women. So, and I think that, I guess that helped as well for everyone, every woman to know that, you know, and it was a really successful company, still is really successful. So, but again, quite unheard of.
Yeah, definitely in recruitment.
I've had 2 female bosses. One when I was a recruiter, and she was one of the best sort of salespeople there. And she was great because she taught you the job, but also she could speak with the board of directors and actually try and affect some change. Not necessarily just for women, but generally for the business, for the better, which was quite good to see that she, you know, was really strong in her character. And she sort of didn't back down, which was really good to see, and she sort of stood her ground, which was nice to sort of try and live up to.
Yeah.
Especially as just starting out in recruitment, you know, you don't want to say boo to a goose really, because you don't want to upset anybody, but yeah, she was good. And then my other manager was when I was working at the REC. I won't name her, she'll know who she is. But she was brilliant, and still is brilliant. She's one of my really close friends now. And she just instilled in you this belief that if you make sure your knowledge base is strong and you can give good advice, people will naturally come to you for help and things like that, and respect your position rather than, you know, making it about being a woman or not being a woman. It was more, you know, just make sure you're the best at what you do and make sure you stand your ground and you show people that you're good.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah.
Really good advice.
So that's what I try and do now with my team, whether it's male or female, just try and get that knowledge in there somehow. And it is difficult with the fast pace of recruitment, but I think, you know, just make yourself the best you can be.
Interesting. So do you think that having those good examples helps you with like your leadership roles in your teams and how you interact with them, or has any bad experiences made how you be a leader to your people different or better? No?
Yeah, I think for me, my sort of the first female leader I had in recruitment that I mentioned earlier, she was a powerhouse. I mean, scary, absolutely. I mean, not many people scare me, but she was quite scary. And I was in my early 20s, but she kind of taught me to just be fearless and just be who you are and just work hard. And just because you're a female, it doesn't mean to say you can't do the same job. And that's something that I 1,000,000,000% install in my girls. You know, when you hear family members say, oh, you're going to marry a rich footballer, or it drives me insane. And I say to them, absolutely not. You make your own money. You know, what I was just going to say the song. What was the song? It's not Beyonce, was it?
It's Destiny's Child.
Yeah, Destiny's Child. I was going to say the word of that.
I bought them.
I always sing that to my girls. Exactly. There you go. We've got a singer in the mix.
So this year's International Women's Day theme is Inspire Inclusion. So I just wanted to ask what that means to you all as women in this industry, if you have any thoughts on that.
I mean, I think we've kind of touched on it a bit already, but I think to get to the whole inspiring inclusion piece, it is going back to having women in the decision making and the leadership positions. Like, it's great putting a load of women bums on seats, you know, just to tick the boxes, but if they're not having an impact or getting to have input and make decisions, then it's not really going to change things for the bigger picture. So I think it's having organisations more open to promoting internally, not just, oh, there's a senior open position, putting it out there. Is there anyone in the business that can, you know, be promoted into that, and encouraging women to be like a part of that as well, particularly in industries where I think men think that, or people think that men should go for it first, like, you know, be the woman that goes for it, or, you know, not be afraid to kind of go ahead and do things.
It's the same with the flexibility though, isn't it? You could have someone who's really good at their job but needs to do 9 till 2, and, you know, someone who's probably not as skilled would get the job because they can do the 9 to 5.
And I think it's not even just about, like, yes, women have babies, but there's men there as well a lot of the time that are involved in that process, you know. Just because the woman's having a child doesn't mean that her life's on hold and her whole career has to be affected and everything. It's a, you know, a two-part thing, so I think it's just not...
It also comes,
you know,
with a country as well where you live.
Yeah.
As example, Scandinavia, a prime example is Iceland. Men and women got same paternity and maternity rights. Men are actually more lenient there, go to paternity rather than female. Because it's you know,
can like split it, can't you?
yeah,
Like
you can split it half or
Yeah.
something. They've got really better laws about it.
A lot of companies are doing it here in the UK now, aren't they, where they can split that. But it's not just about childcare, it's also about, you know, caring for elderly parents, and that always traditionally falls on the woman, doesn't it? So
it's almost like an unspoken conversation. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you'll stay at home and do that, or you'll care for them, or you'll, you know, take a break whilst I excel in my career, you
It's
know.
just
whereas-
mentally, like a female, I'm more empathetic.
Yeah.
It's all of it, all of it, just,
Yeah.
you know, it's still just making it harder for women at the end of the day.
I think for my team, going away from the maternity subject, because obviously it's more than just that. I mean, that's a big thing. But for my team who don't have kids and things like that, when I try to get them included, it's by trying to empower them to be who they are and sort of bring that through in how maybe they present something. Because I think there's an understanding or an unwritten rule that it has to be quite formal in business and things like that, and it doesn't always play to people's personalities, and sometimes it actually comes across as really insincere when they try to be like that, and it doesn't empower them. They feel uncomfortable doing it, and it's trying to get them to just be themselves. So there's the side of me that tries to get the girls and the guys on my team to be themselves. If it's presentation or whatever it might be, make it fun. So yeah, that's what I try to do, to include my team in everything, just so that they're more proactive themselves, they have confidence in themselves more, and think, yeah, I can do it, rather than I need somebody to approve it for me or it to be a certain way.
Yeah, confidence definitely helps. So off the back of all of that, have you guys had any personal obstacles that you've had to overcome, and you've had to like adapt your like your job or the way that you work, or just like literally pack it in all together? Like, has there been any experiences?
I think quite recently, and I found this incredibly offensive, I approached a company to work with them on a really large wind farm, and got the correct guy to talk to, and when I engaged with him, he asked me if there was a man that he could speak to, which I think is, since joining the industry, I think was probably the most offensive thing that I've come up against. To which my reply was obviously no. I'm the business manager. You know, let me demonstrate actually that I have a full understanding of how your project is developing so far, what the scope of work is, how many guys you need, how long it's going to take, you know, what the amount of the investment is, and to be able to demonstrate to this particular individual how, you know, I would be able to support on the project, to which he still wasn't particularly happy. So then my fallback from that was to then go to the guy above him and present actually what we can offer as a business and what I can offer individually for my own knowledge and industry experience, to which his superior was actually very pleased with what I presented, which I was very relieved to hear. So, but I couldn't actually quite believe that happened. You know, and we're talking a few weeks ago now.
Oh wow,
That's
so bad.
Old school mindset. I think slightly similar. Not me, but a girl on my team. she once did a face-to-face interview with somebody, and after she had interviewed him, he then asked, when do I get to speak to him, or when do I get to be interviewed by a man? Like that made any difference.
Wow.
And you just think
Wow.
the audacity that,
Yeah.
that some
Yeah.
people have. It's like, you're in this position, you know, you're the one, you know, with the power here, and it's still, there's just, I'm not saying this is obviously every man either, but there is just still a lot of people that have this instilled, you know,
Yeah.
sort of idea in their heads that women just aren't as good.
You just have to push it so much harder
You do.
and work so much harder, and that's my takeaway. I've always felt that I've had to overcompensate.
Yeah. And
Um,
like I was saying before, you have to fight.
yeah,
You have to shout to be heard
100%.
a lot of the time. But not only that, you also have to adapt your style a lot of the time to suit male
Yes.
colleagues who
You have to
wanted
mirror.
to be short, sharp, succinct. And
Yes.
I'm not saying that gives women the opportunity to just ramble on.
yeah,
Of course, you need to be efficient, but I think there needs to be a change of attitude to accept that people present things in different ways.
yeah.
And that's quite frustrating that you have to adapt to them, but
Yes.
not the other way around.
Always.
Yeah.
Taking it, you've been too sensitive.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like I feel like when I see the women, they find it potentially harder to ask for things that should just come naturally, and that I've seen men just would have no issues just going ahead and asking, thinking, yeah, that's fine, whatever. Whereas women almost have to have, you know, the whole backlog and build it up and all the reasoning and everything of why it should happen.
Yeah.
Like really feel the need to justify it, whereas a lot of the men just don't have that mindset and think it's just going to be fall in their lap.
Yeah,
And I see that all the time, and like you're no different to anyone else.
exactly.
Just
If you don't
do it.
ask, you don't get.
Yeah,
That's one thing I have
exactly.
learned.
But it's the fear that I
Yeah.
think is instilled in
Yeah.
women still.
Would that be your biggest piece of advice then to somebody, to a woman?
100%.
Don't ask, don't forget.
Absolutely. I say it to my girls, I say it to my team. If you don't push for things, no one else is, unless you've got a good manager who can do that for you. But 9 times out of 10, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah. So the worst thing you can be told is no.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly
Exactly.
in all the jobs we're doing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
if it's internally, externally, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to say no.
Yeah,
Yeah, you should know your worth. Be
absolutely.
confident and believe in
Yeah.
yourself, and ask what you want
Yeah,
if you know that you're worth it.
and speak up as well. If you don't feel something is right, you always speak
Yeah.
up.
But that's always the way, isn't it? The people that are not suffering but have to live through the issues are always the ones who are trying to educate the people that should actually be proactively changing things.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, whatever that may be. You know,
Mm.
it's quite frustrating. But yeah, I've never been one to keep my mouth.
You and me both. then.
Otherwise, it builds
Yeah.
up, then you
Yeah.
explode, and then you
Yeah.
are emotional.
Yeah.
But why do we have to think like that?
Yeah.
If you are an emotional being, why can't that be an accepted thing?
Yeah, and you feel
Rather than-
passionately about it as well.
Because, you know, if a man has a massive argument, that's okay. But if I stand up and do that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that does remind me actually when I was a sales director for the first time, and I remember my manager and me getting frustrated, and we worked to constant deadlines. It was really stressful. And then, I'd be making decisions and he would sit me down and go, and he would always say to me, Heather, take the emotion out of it. And I think about that now.
More emotional.
Yeah, and it just made me want
Somebody tell
to...
you to calm down. It's like, that's the worst
Yeah.
thing you can say.
And take the emotion out of it. Well, it's you want somebody who's passionate and who is
Yeah.
good at the job and who's engaged with the business and who's gonna work hard for you. But that's going to be part of the package, isn't it? You're going to get
That's
some
the thing.
emotion.
Why is that never said to a man?
Mixed
Take
up.
the emotion.
Exactly. Exactly.
Passion and emotion is just mixed up.
It's actually going to make you better at the job because it means that you care.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have an emotion and
Yes.
you're not engaged with the business, you don't show emotion, then you probably don't care about the end result.
Psychopath.
So
Exactly.
So off the back of that, what do you think workplaces or your organisations can do to better uplift women and to make them feel comfortable and to make it more...
I think it needs to not be a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
Endless policies, ridiculous, flexibility and things like that. I think they need to actually do what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
same
it's-
rules
they're
should
quick.
be for men and
Yeah.
for female.
Talking about things like getting employees involved in maybe an employee forum or something.
Yeah, it would, and but I just think generally to be heard, to actually, like you say, if you had a forum or you had somewhere to discuss the fact that you don't think it's fair or it isn't the same rule for everybody else, because many companies don't have that, so you don't feel heard. So therefore, how is change ever going to happen if your employer doesn't know that you're unhappy, or you don't feel that it's a fair rule across the business?
Maybe.
And I think, to be fair to some men, there are, men and guys in the industry that do actually agree and empower. And I think that, it's probably quite a small percentage, but there are guys that I feel give opportunities and believe that it should be, an equal standard.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I do sometimes, even it's
I'm
sometimes
dropping the
fitting
scene.
in with that, like the boys club thing, you said, that mentality. So some men might even think, oh, actually it's okay, but it's the laddie thing, like, oh, women in the kitchen, women at home, like,
I hate
it's just
that.
a bit silly sometimes, but then it does.
Oh, the amount of
It does
times I've been
fall
asked to
out.
make tea.
Wow.
It needs to be
No more.
given more gravitas. It isn't just like a side issue. That can be a lot of your workforce are women. And all of the women issues that go along with that, whether it be your period or
Menopause.
menopause or you're pregnant or whatever it might be that affects you on a day-to-day basis, it needs to be discussed and actually supported.
And it's not laughed as well, because sometimes, she's got a period, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
It's just a
Come on.
joke, yeah.
Yeah, men will not obviously understand how painful it can be because they don't have one, but it is sometimes, some women do go through massive
Suffer.
pain.
They do suffer.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
a colleague who just literally was on the floor, suffering in pain.
Thanks so much, everybody. Unless anybody's got anything else to add, I think we can wrap up. I would say everyone in this room.
A woman that I've admired for ages she's passed away now. She was known as the notorious RBG. And she was a US attorney who became the second Supreme Court Justice in the US that was a woman. But before she got to that point, and lifted weights apparently, and lifted more than men, she went to university and had to support her husband, who had testicular cancer, and she sat his classes as well as her own to pass them both.
Oh my goodness.
She then had to take a break because she got pregnant and had her first child with him, and then she had to go back to university and beg to be let back in to finish it, and they said no, so she moved universities and finished it elsewhere, but then couldn't get a job because she was a woman. So she lectured about sex discrimination, and eventually she's the person that has overturned all of the discriminatory laws in the US and got anti-discrimination laws introduced, ironically by having to fight a case for a man who couldn't get a tax benefit because he was a man caring for a woman and it wasn't a woman caring for a man, and the laws only allowed women to get tax benefits when they were caring for people.
Wow.
So much unpacking.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
she was pretty cool.
Thanks for sharing her.
Yeah,
That's
really
that's
interesting.
She's
amazing.
called Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say because I did a whole paragraph.
No. Anybody else doesn't have any inspirational women to share?
Not after that.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the first episode of our podcast. If you want more information on ERSG, visit our website at www.ersg-global.com.